All right. Welcome back to the LaviCast. I'm your host, Lavia Ray, and I'm here with Mayday once again to have a bit of discussion about the IDW comics. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show, Mayday.
Hello, good to be back. It's been a little while, and I'm ready to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog yet again.
All
Looking
right.
forward to
So,
it.
oh, yes. All right. So, right now, if you are familiar with this frame, you might be knowing that this page in particular is a bit infamous from IDW and for how it tries to establish what Sonic's principles that Sonic is supposed to have core principles. Now, and today that's going to be a bit of our discussion here, but I think I'm going to hand the floor to you, Mayday, and I want you to uh, set the tone of the discussion for what we're ultimately going to be talking about here. So, what did you ultimately want to discuss about this?
Sure. I mean, you know this. The audience doesn't know this because they weren't there.
Yeah.
But when
No,
I
no,
first
you don't need.
conceived,
We don't need to talk about what happened before. Just jump into
yeah,
it.
sure. When I conceived this conversation, I did want to talk about whether or not Sonic was a hero. Um, because around, sort of around the airwaves, I've been seeing people saying that Sonic isn't a hero. He's so morally ambiguous and he just does what he wants. And in the end, we both ended up agreeing that no, Sonic is a hero. He is nine. I mean, if he does what he wants, then 99% of what he wants is like aligned with traditional morality, which is a roundabout way of like making him a hero. So instead of talking about that, where it seems like we have an agreement, I think the place where we have a disagreement, and maybe this might represent the fan base or parts of the fan base of um, whether or not its moral philosophy should be put on display, whether or not it should be criticized, specifically, I guess, for a specific example, which might facilitate our conversation, specifically in the sense of him having a no-kill rule, like him maybe letting the enemies go. Is this something that Sonic, as a narrative, should concern itself with? So yeah, that's what I wanted to discuss. I don't know if it's going to be an argument. I think it'll be,
So, what do you want to discuss about in particular?
yeah. Um, I guess to start off, we could just start off with the question: should Sonic have a no-kill rule? That's probably a good enough place to start.
Okay. Can you?
So yeah, I'll go first. Should Sonic have a no-kill rule? Uh, uh, well, I don't know. I can see the benefits and the negatives of it, but I'll just to make the conversation more interesting, I'll position myself as like, sure, he should. What are the benefits of that? And I think that the way that IDW was constructed, this or like the way that it was sort of initialized, the way that it was framed from the beginning was sort of off of this basis of like challenging Sonic morally. Because Sonic in the games, I don't know if he's ever really. I mean, sure, you can say that he's been challenged morally, but I think that the or his some maybe something he believes in is challenged, like with Shadow the Hedgehog, or maybe with Blaze, right? They're like, oh, he's too flippant, he's too adventurous, or whatever. Or maybe just with Eggman, he wants to protect the animals, right? He wants to protect the environment. Eggman wants to full technology, full industrialization, etc., etc. Um, but I think that this challenged his morality in a way that was maybe unclear, which was new for the series. They introduced like some grayness to it, and maybe doing something new is not necessarily doesn't necessarily make it better. But I feel like if you're gonna make a new story, if you're given this chance for like fresh slate, new number one, right, for a comic book, then make putting Sonic in a new situation. I think that is there's something to it that I think that I would prefer to see that than maybe challenging Sonic physically like we've seen before, maybe having him experience the same challenges that he's seen before. So yeah, I guess that's my first point. And then if you want to go point by point by point, I think that might be best. You can like respond to that if you want.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna try and make sure I hold myself to this too, but the thing is, it's gonna be hard to go point by point when you end up going like 4 or 5. So let's just keep this the simple thing. So I think the best place to start here is to just let's start with that note. Well, let's start with a little bit of your answer for your no kill rule because you kind of seemed to waffle a little bit, whereas it seemed more like you saw the pros and cons, but you ultimately kind of landed with it was interesting for the comic to just try to do something new in particular, right?
Sure. Yeah. Or
So
yes.
here's the thing. So we had a bit of a discussion about this before, and I'm kind of going to have to try to bring up the same thing here too. Just because someone does something new does not mean it's a good idea, or for that matter, it was something that should have been done in the first place. Like, I'm always going to put it like this. Do we need to have a story about Sonic pissing in the middle of the street? That's new. That's something we haven't done before. Does that mean and there's no reason to say that we can't make that remotely interesting, but do we need to have a story like that?
Oh, you want me to respond?
Yeah.
Well, in response to that, I would say that this is a form of moral dumbfounding, or maybe dumbfounding, where we say
Uh,
that, oh, because a premise might seem ridiculous on its face, that like that
no,
you
no,
can
no,
like
no,
use
no,
that to
no, no,
like
no, no, no,
torpedo
no,
the
no, no, no.
entire
Hold up.
concept of
No, hold up.
yeah.
No. You're misinterpreting. I didn't bring that up because the premise is ridiculous on its face. I brought it up because it's just completely new. Yes, it is ridiculous. But my point here is about rebutting to your idea about just because it's new is the reason that it's okay to be defended and justified. And the whole point is it's not. There's nothing to gain from having a story about Sonic is pissing in the middle of the street.
Right.
Because
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
so my whole thing is when it comes to art, especially um, when it comes to a story like it comes to an adventure series, the action adventure series like this, I'm not saying every kind of story always has to boil down to who's physically stronger or something like that. Yeah, I'm absolutely for trying to go in different directions, but that doesn't mean just going in any direction should immediately be co-signed or immediately considered to be good or worthwhile doing. Because no, there are bad ideas you can go through with that on its face. So the idea when it comes to Sonic having a no kill rule, my position is this: we don't need to address it. We don't really need there. Not everything in the story needs to be addressed or justified in some way, especially when it comes to how Sonic deals with his villains. Because at the end of the day, not only because that this is a comic that's mainly a franchise that is mainly aimed towards kids, that's mainly meant to aim towards kids, it's also because at the end of the day, it's a franchise that has a bunch of villains that are especially Eggman, who are always going to stay around because they're franchise villains. That's at the end of the day is the reason, and there's no good answer for why to keep this around. Because by every perspective, there's no reason that if not Sonic, some Justice Force should not exist in the universe that should be in their world that should not be looking to put them in prison or put them in prison to some extent. So trying to address that even if you just keep it solely to Sonic, does not make sense and only causes more problems with this character. It does not just because something has good and bad outcomes doesn't mean that you can have a debate about it. Doesn't mean it's morally gray. More often than not, it's just a stupid. It was just a dumb decision that people are trying to make it seem like it has some merit to it when it doesn't. And in this case, it does not. I don't need some. Now, the thing is, when people criticize, especially the stuff here when it comes to how Sonic deals with like with Eggman and Metal and all this kind of stuff, is not out of the sense of, oh, we want Sonic to just go around and killing these people left and right. I know he's not going to kill them. They're franchise villains. They're not going anywhere. The whole point is I don't need to address. I don't need anyone in story to address why Sonic lets them go. You can treat them like every other Saturday morning cartoon villain, where you just kick them flying into. You beat them. They get sent flying into the air by some explosion, and we just call it a day. And we move on to the next. And we just move on to the next story. We don't. There's nothing to gain from trying to explore the moral dilemma behind that. So that would be my point. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I'll try. I wrote down some of the things you said. I'll try and go through them.
Okay.
So, okay, I think I understand your problem with what I'm saying, and you can maybe interject. Hopefully, not like too long, but like interject if I get it wrong.
Okay.
Okay, when I say that like it's new, I think that that's doing. a lot of work for me because something you're right. When you're saying that like what if it was like Sonic like peeing in the streets or whatever, you're saying that it's new, but that doesn't something being new doesn't make it good. Okay, something needs to be good on its own merits. You have to go further. You can't just say that something is new and therefore it's good. And I would agree with that. I would say that doing something new, Sonic doing something new, would be good or beneficial insofar as it is, it is compelling. Yeah, that's it. That's or good. So that's not very. It's basic, but
So
I would say that Sonic's been going for a long time. Um, a lot of his stories, a lot of it is like this good versus evil thing, where it doesn't really go that much deeper than that. So I'm saying the beneficial part of that might be that people would like it. Some people might like it if you see something Sonic in a new situation. I'm saying, or like, let me ask you um, this question: if Sonic did this same type of story again and again and again, right? If Sega, that was like the mandate from Sega, the actual Sega mandates were like, we want Sonic to always fight Eggman, and he's always the good guy, and there's no more new characters, and we Sonic just does the same thing for each story because that would be the best. That's what I think would be good. Would that be a good thing, or would that be a bad thing, or would that be like neutral? To
So here's the thing. I would disagree with Sega doing that, but not for the reasons that you stated. For different reasons than you're implying. Like, do I have a problem with Sonic Brothers being the good guy in the situation? No, I don't. I'm completely okay with that. The one time that they do that in in the Black Knight, that barely counts. He was basically
I
playing
agree that doesn't
yeah, that
count.
doesn't count. So
Yeah.
literally in every other situation until IDW decides to do this weird dumb thing with Surge and I which is a whole other thing I don't want to get to. He is generally always the good guy in the situation. So that's already not the problem. The problem I would have with Sega saying that is we can't have new villains or we have to always have to do the exact same story over and over again. I would push back on that stuff, but I wouldn't but I am not going to go against the idea of like Sonic needs to be the bad guy go against the idea that Sonic needs to be the good guy in the situation. No, that's fine. That's the whole reason why we had this the original conversation of whether about Sonic being a hero. He is. The problem is that again, we need to keep this on this one topic is the idea of trying to overanalyze or try to force moral grayness, which I don't even think the series was aiming for that really, but trying to the idea of like we need to force moral grayness into a series like this because that not only does nothing in the story benefit from that, the only reason to do that is just for the aesthetic, not because you're actually trying to say or do anything with the character, when literally pretty much every time outside of that, he's not morally gray in the slightest.
Okay. So uh, you're saying you would. So I'm just going on the first thing you said, and I wrote down the other things you said. I promise. I'm
Okay.
listening to them. But like the first thing you said was that yeah, you wouldn't like it if if Sega was like no more new villains or make Sonic do the same thing again and again and again. And I think that the reason you're saying that isn't because you think that there's like saying I would say this is the same for me. Isn't because there's anything inherently good about putting Sonic in a new situation. It's not inherently good to just make Sonic do something new because he hasn't done it before, but because I think it would be boring for you. It would get boring. You don't want to see Sonic necessarily do the same thing again because I think that with every new game, every new piece of media that Sonic's in, you want to like see you want to see the character be put through new challenges just because it's like stimulating. So that's kind of I think the where if I can get you to understand like where I'm coming from, that's why I would bring up it's new because it's like interesting for me that it's not good because it's good. It'd be good because or I guess in a way it is, but it's like it's good for me because in my mind it just I find it more stimulating. And I guess implied in that is that I think that it's like not stupid. You know what I mean? Like Sonic, like Pain Industries. So I think that yeah, it's not dumb. So I that's why I would find it good. Um, so okay, there's something interesting that you said. You actually, if this will kind of be a new topic, but if you want to address what I
Go for it.
said first. Oh, okay. So you said you don't think, and you sort of implied this the last time we talked, not in front of the audience, but is IDW, well, you said you're not sure the IDW was going for moral greatness, which, if I can infer what you mean by that, I think that you might believe that what for in issue 50, for example, it wasn't trying to show Sonic as being this morally gray, oh, who knows if he's right. It was trying to position him as being morally correct.
Okay,
Would you
hold up.
agree with that?
Hold up. No. To be clear, I'm talking about when. Okay, so when it comes to issue 50, that was them. I do think that was their attempt to try and be moral greatness, but that's one of my problems with their moral greatness because in order for that scene to even remotely make sense, not only do they have to rely basically on the artist making them look as punchable as fucking possible, they have to
Huh.
pretty much have to pretty much ignore context and basically bastardize a lot about miss the entire fucking point what it means to fight for freedom in the first place just to get into this just to get into the situation which just to be able to get this to be morally great which is my whole problem. This is stupid because the writers themselves because the writer in this case in particular doesn't understand what the fuck he's talking about and just relies on just making shit cynical. This is actually one of his big like this kind of worked for him when he was working on Pre-Boot Archie because Pre-Boot Archie is mostly about just making sure, just about being as balls to the wall and insane and just being as grimdark and miserable as possible for most of that franchise. And that worked for them. But when you're trying to get anywhere outside of that, this is fucking moronic to do.
Okay.
Because, like, for example,
Go
the
ahead.
whole, one of the reasons why Sonic was already getting chewed out for the audience for this in the first place was not uh, because of letting Tinker go, but because of his whole back and forth situation about his whole back and forth situation in Metal in the first place. Like he ends up letting him go because it's like he needs to make his own choices, he needs to make his own decisions. But then we end up finding out that oh wait, he's a fucking robot who's still designed to work and help and support for Eggman, like he's always fucking done, and he ends up going back and continue to help and support Eggman. He then decides to throw a pissy fit, going like, "Oh, I can't believe you! You had the choice to do good, and you decided not to." This is him completely misunderstanding what the term freedom means. If your whole idea is that you're fighting for freedom, you don't get to bitch, moan, and complain when someone does something that you don't want to do. The whole point of freedom is that you allow them to get those decisions. Now, here's the thing: do I think he's wrong for wanting to try to fight them when they end up trying to do something wrong? No, but the problem is you don't get to make arguments about wanting to make cases for people's freedom while also continuing to make threats against them. That's not how that works. That is being a hypocritical and two-faced, which, again, that only happens in IDW. That's not been a problem in any other branch of the franchise. It's just here under Flynn's pen because this is his misunderstanding of how this is supposed to work.
Okay. All right. So, can you elaborate on that hypocrite part? I don't really get that because if
Okay,
so
let's put it this
Sonic
way.
is saying I'm gonna let
No,
so he's saying
let
I'm
me put
gonna
it this
let
way.
people go to him.
If you tell someone, "Hey, you get to have any cookie in the get to here are 120 different kinds of cookies in front of you, and you get to have any of them. But if you eat any of the 10 cookies on the same table, I get to smack the taste out of your mouth." How is that offering someone freedom? Or to put it another way, what do you think it means when you're denying someone freedom? What do you think that looks like?
When you put someone in jail, I'll be denying
You
them
don't
freedom.
think threatening to beat the crap out of them doesn't count either? You don't think threats don't
No,
count?
no, that yeah, sure, that would count. Okay,
So how is that offering freedom? How is that offering freedom while looking to make threats?
yeah, I get what you mean. Okay, see, let
This
me
is what
let me
this,
can I
this
like
is yeah, sure.
subjectively tell you like the way I interpret this, like kind of where I sort of buy into Sonic's philosophy, or maybe my own private version of it that exists only in my mind. Okay, so the way I see Sonic is that I see him as being anti-jail. Um, and see, because I think that jail, that a lot of it, and maybe the thing that society doesn't really talk about, or like people don't realize, is that a lot of jail is like revenge. A lot of jail is because, or a lot of the engine like powering our need for jail is like our need to just get payback, and like the satisfaction, emotional satisfaction we get from like um, torturing people who do bad things or like reprehensible things, like etc. And the way I saw it is that Sonic, that vendetta, that doesn't really exist for him. I
Okay,
think
here's
that
no.
if you took that, see, because there is like the practical consideration for jail. There is like the, oh, right, we need to get these people away from society. But if that was like all that was powering jail, if that was all like the motivation like society had for jail, I think that things would look a lot different. Like we wouldn't have like here like people getting like tortured or beat up or like murdered in jail, right? And we wouldn't people would probably be in jail for like way less long. Like there like it would probably, as soon as you're no longer a threat, then we'd probably just let you go. You know what I mean? Or as soon as we realize we are like, you can't hurt anyone ever again, we'd probably just let you go. Um, so I think that that's what Sonic is. Sonic is like this person who just doesn't have like
Okay.
this bone
Okay.
of like
Here's
vengeance
the
in his
problem.
body.
Here's the problem, though. I need you to
Go ahead.
state me. I need you to point out one place in this comic where that's even remotely implied. Because I have one scene that it directly works against you on this. So I need you, if you want to use that as a defense for this, I need you to show me one place where that's true, where they show that.
Are you saying the scene? Well, actually, I don't want to preempt.
You can go and guess what I'm talking about. You probably know. You're probably going to be right.
Yeah, I know. It's the one where it's like we're gonna lock you away forever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well,
So, and I'm not saying you can't refute that. I'm saying if you want to go with this whole idea that Sonic is anti-jail and you want to as a defense, I need you to show me where that's in here. Because I'm not against the idea of interpretations, but when you're trying to have their own people having their own interpretations and things, but when you're looking to try to defend stuff from criticism, you need to stick with what's in the material, not just going off of how you want to try to project your own politics onto the story in order to make it seem deeper, especially when that commentary is not there.
the way I
And trust
took
me, I'm not, and just speaking personally,
go ahead.
as someone who has experience with people I know being in jail for a long period of time and being comfortable with them being in jail for a long period of time, I'm 100% for prison reformation for multiple reasons. But if you're going to have that commentary, it needs to be in here, not just projected on here, so we can try to make these kind of speeches make sense. So, do you have anything in the comic that defends that?
Sonic being anti-jail. Okay,
Yes.
Metal Sonic. When he was no longer a threat, when there was no longer any person on Earth, or at least that was the way that it was sort of framed, in my opinion, that who was capable of like weaponizing him or making him dangerous again, he kind of just let him go. It's like you
Okay.
can be free to kind of do whatever because you're no longer dangerous. You can't hurt anybody. So
And that was
bye.
and one that was not only was that proven to be wrong. My scene comes after this.
Zavok. Zavok.
That
You let
works. No,
the
that work.
Zeddy.
Here's the
You
problem.
let them
I
back
talk.
on
No, no,
Earth.
hold up,
No,
hold up,
see,
hold
you
up.
just
Here's
showed me
no,
they
hold
let
on,
them
hold
back
on.
on Earth.
No,
Go ahead.
Zavok. Here's the problem. I talked to Flynn. That backs me up, not you. Because this whole thing was he was trying to argue that no, that's just as good as prison. It's on a mini plane. He can't get off of it. Now, I have a problem with it because I don't think it should count because it doesn't count because at the end of the day, they're not being monitored. They're not being monitored. They can come back at any point and they are promising to fuck shit up. So not only does it fuck shit up if they do ever get the chance to come back, which they might get a chance to at some point. But either way, from Flynn's perspective, which is the writer, his whole thing is that he is counting that as prison. So that still works against you. That's supposed to work as prison, even from their perspective. So from both his and from Sonic's perspective. So how does that work as being anti-prison?
Wait, but Sonic, okay, if there was like a machine, like a VR machine that you could put like criminals in, that was like a total nightmare Matrix dimension, except they were happy and they didn't know what was going on. I think that Sonic would be cool with that because he was like,
How is
because I
that?
think that's the way. Wait,
No,
I
no, no,
think
no,
that.
no, 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 no.
Go ahead.
I'm not looking to get into headcanons. I want to keep it on
No,
this.
this isn't a headcanon. I'm saying he was okay with Mr. Tinker, which was horrifying. It was Eggman, the real Eggman, was killed and replaced with this other person.
Mhm,
Eggman would not be down with that. He would not be okay with that. But
mhm.
Sonic was. He was like, he's happy. So I don't care. That's probably worse than jail. Okay.
Here's the thing. No,
Yeah.
here's the problem. That goes back to my whole problem with how Flynn works with this kind of stuff because that's how his brain works. He ends up taking like the most cynical, really disturbing kind, almost kind of sort of disturbing kind of stuff. It just kind of doesn't seem to understand the process, the implications, or the weird stuff behind that. So I'm like, I am not against I do agree with you. It is kind of messed up, not only in the sense of just leaving this guy with brain damage around and just treating him like it's normal.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
also,
a
no,
little
hold on,
bit.
hold on.
Jeez. Yeah,
Not
sorry.
only,
Go ahead.
but I'm also on the flip side of if you're going to keep him like this, then you need to not only make sure that he is monitored and can watched properly to make sure that he doesn't immediately flip back. When they do, Sonic is still doubling down on the idea that he can be good based on the fact that he was good when he had brain damage.
Wait, sorry, repeat that? What? He can be good even though the goodness came from brain damage.
Let me just get the scene. The whole thing from I was meaning to pull this up. Did I get? Yeah, no, I got the screenshot. 1 second. This. The whole core idea about this is that maybe that where Sonic goes until the next time, Doc, and the time after that, and time after that one. Maybe you'll eventually come around. The whole reason he has this mindset is because he acted like a not dipshit when as he was Mr. Tinker as when Eggman had brain damage. The whole reason he has his mindset is supposed to be based solely off of that, which is fucking disturbing and horrifying. And why the hell? And this is why my whole argument for this stuff is it shouldn't be here because what the fuck are you doing putting this into a story like this? Like, even ignoring all of the weird connotations around it, it doesn't benefit anyone. It doesn't benefit anyone both in universe and out for one of the main people who's be fighting against this guy going, well, I think he could be good at some point. He had brain damage that he was okay when he had brain damage that one time and he was okay. That doesn't make any sense. And of course it fucking doesn't because and I'm not making this up. Flynn confirmed this. He fell backwards into this premise in the first place. He only ended up doing the Mr. Tinker thing because he just wanted Metal Sonic to be the villain for the first arc. He had to come up with a reason for why Eggman wasn't there. And then once that was done, he saw how people were so interested in the Mr. Tinker stuff, so he decided to just kept rolling with it, see how it played out. He wasn't thinking through the implications of this stuff. He wasn't trying to have any type of actual moral discussion behind this. He just ended up falling backwards into this.
Okay, but do you all right, do you remember like that one scene from okay, wait. So I think that the way that the brain damage is framed in the story, it seems to imply that it's not like brain damage, like real brain damage, like Eggman was like fundamentally changed on like a molecular level, mental level, whatever.
Worse.
It
It was
seems
that
to it,
worse. It's worse. Flynn actually said that he treats Tinker as a completely separate individual from Eggman. They're not even meant to be considered the same person. So this makes it again even dumber.
okay, well, okay, then Flynn is wrong. He's wrong about his own writing. Because I remember a scene from I think it was volume 7 where where Sonic was like, "Oh, Eggman, how could you do this thing? You just wanted to be a grade A jerk and blah blah blah." And then Eggman, he's like, "No, I being Mr. Tinker sucked." And then he looks off into the distance and he trails off and looks contemplative and maybe regretful, right? As he looks at all these zombified like metal people, right? So which seemed to imply to me that part of that goodness maybe did exist in Eggman, right? Or it does exist, right? And maybe it was just brought out by this brain damage. Like the brain damage was like a device to show that the potential of Eggman, like the goodness that could exist inside of him. You know what I mean? That's what that scene seemed to imply to me. So, like more than like, so I don't know.
I
Maybe
know, like
you
this
shouldn't have
is
said that, but I
again this.
disagree with him. I
Yeah,
disagree with
so
his
here's the thing. I do agree with you. Like that's what that seems like it was trying to imply. It's kind of hard for me to be able to come back around and say that this to ultimately co-sign the scene and just say that this was either the writer or the art team misunderstanding how to use this trope properly, because literally nothing after this is confirming that Eggman had any regrets about doing this stuff. This is the only scene that supports this. Everything afterwards shows that he has no regrets about doing this stuff and would do it again if given the chance.
Maybe
I agree with
I
you,
can't
but
think of a counterexample right now. So maybe you might be right. I don't know. But sorry, were you gonna say something?
no. Continue. I was done.
No, I was saying yeah. You might be right, but it was there. I don't know.
No, it's
I mean, yeah. So if there was nothing, if it's not okay, because it not being shown or it not being talked about might just mean that the story might be moving on to different themes. If they did talk about this thing again, or did have a discussion on the morality of Eggman or him as a character again, um, and then it said it contradicted. It was like, oh, I didn't feel bad about any of that stuff, or that's what the story is like trying to tell us. And like maybe that would be a contradiction, but the story right now, the comic right now, doesn't seem to be concerned with Eggman's morality or like him as a character. So it's just not talking about it. So it not talking about it isn't like I wouldn't take that as like evidence against my interpretation of it that there is like this goodness in him. You get what I'm saying?
not exactly. Try repeating that, please.
Okay, it's like it's like if I say my favorite color is green like 3 years ago, and I just stop talking about colors um for like the next 3 years, and I just don't discuss it. That wouldn't mean that like 3 years later you could be like, yeah, okay, well, his favorite color
Dude,
isn't green because we don't see any evidence of his favorite color being green. That just
dude.
might mean that I'm not concerned with it or I'm not discussing it at the time. It's not an
Hold on.
equivalent to me saying that my favorite color is red like three
That
years
that
ago.
analogy doesn't work. That analogy doesn't work because it's not like Eggman has just been silent since this issue dropped. He had the whole urban warfare thing where he not only was looking to try to again turn everything into this cyber robotic this or like I said, urban convert everything into his own controllable city. But on top of that, was literally sicking Metal Sonic onto other people, holding people at gunpoint, trying to encase people in casing the characters in these tiny cubes. He was playing the role as a villain during that arc, and even as of right now in the newest issue, while yes, he was going after another bad guy, he still was. His whole thing was like, "Don't touch my stuff. I'm the only one who's able to use these things to take over the world." It's not like he like said his favorite color was green 3 years ago and said nothing. No, he's been consistently saying his favorite color is green. He had one moment of maybe my favorite color might be maybe my favorite. I do kind of like red for a second, but then immediately goes back to liking green and has been liking green ever since. So that parallel, so that analogy doesn't work.
Okay.
Okay, but we're kind of
I get what you mean. Sure. All right.
So let's get back on point a little bit because we're
Yeah.
kind of going off on we're kind of losing track here a little bit.
Yeah.
The
Sure.
whole point here that we were trying to have a discussion around was, if I correct me if I'm wrong, was mainly about trying to make sure that we explore Sonic's character, morality, and just trying to find new, interesting ways to do that. Correct?
Right. Okay. So we can move on, maybe because okay, I was like, this is new and it's interesting to me, and it's like less boring. So like that was only one of my points. That might be a benefit of like sort of framing your comic in that way. So do you want me to move on to another point, and then we can discuss that?
Yeah. You pick.
Okay. Well, um, I think that okay, I like Lanolin and Surge. I like them. I think that they are a direct response to like this moral question that's been like introduced, like Sonic's flippant attitude towards like justice. Like, oh, I don't really care about jail. Whatever, Eggman, whatever, Egghead, go ahead, fly away to do a genocide or a robot zombie apocalypse, like yet again, you know what I mean? And I think that their characters are made as a direct response to that. And I know I like them. And if without that moral question being introduced, they just don't exist.
And honestly,
Because, or at
that's
least
the
in the
main thing
form
case
that
for
they
my
are now.
position. Because if anything, these two characters, not only these two characters, been flailing individually. Their connection, if their whole existence is to explore this theming, that's just backing up more about why they shouldn't have been done, why this shouldn't have been done in the first place. Because they both kind of show how this doesn't make sense. Like, I'm not against the idea. Like, here's the thing: I am not against the idea. I am 100% for the word jail or prison never coming out of Sonic's mouth. I don't think we need to have a whole thing about him going like, yeah, we need to put all these characters in jail. I don't think he needs to be like quote unquote anti-jail with people who are looking to try to take away their freedom and be oppressive towards others. That really misses the goddamn point. That's not a conversation we need to have with this. My problem is when it comes to, however, on the flip side, when it comes to Surge and Lanolin, they show the reasons why we shouldn't be doing this in the first place. When it comes to Lanolin, even ignoring all the drama around her with Mimic, we're just gonna put that shit to the side for a second. Is the whole argument that they're trying to have, especially according to Adam Bryce Thomas's little comics, is that she's supposed to be really cynical and vengeful about the idea of like, Sonic, you come in and try to save people, but then you don't put them in prison. How dare you? You want to know why he doesn't do that? Even ignoring my point about about Eggman being a franchise villain, so he can't go away permanently. He's not a fucking cop. He's not the justice system. He doesn't have a whole prison underneath. Hell, he doesn't even have a house. He doesn't have a prison he doesn't have like a giant fucking prison that every last bad guy that's ever come across can ultimately be put into. If you want to have this conversation like this, that's another reason why if you want to have a conversation like this, you have to face it like an adult with proper world building. So if you're not going to have cops, if you're not going to have a prison system or anything, a proper prison system, not just that stupid guitar prison, but like an actual proper conversation about how prison works, which they're not, why are we having this conversation? Like when it comes to Lanolin in particular, I don't know why she is in the Restoration, because even ignoring that the Restoration keeps jumping back and forth on whether they want to be a paramilitary organization or a charity, either way, we have established time and time again, they can't fight worth a damn. They can't do anything. They're barely functional. They are completely dependent on Sonic and his friends for any type of action scenarios. So if they genuinely wanted her to have this conversation, they wouldn't be putting her into the Restoration and her trying to strong arm them into being more militarized in the dumbest way possible. She would be a fucking cop. And even then, it would be stupid to have this conversation. It would be stupid to have this conversation because at the end of the day, that's not Sonic's job. It would be hers. So, and Sonic isn't going around just going, "Oh, I only just do the bare minimum. I'll let it go." No, he beats up these guys. It would be very easy for someone coming after the fact throw them in jail, and we just call it a day. They don't. Why? Because they're franchise villains. We can't put them away, and they're too. And honestly, as far as I can tell, the creative team is too lazy to come up with new villains, which they really should have by this point. That's the reason why. So if you want to have this conversation, so if they want to try to have this conversation with Lanolin, they're going about it in the worst way possible for all the reasons I just listed. And Surge is worse because first off, she's too disconnected from Sonic's action, from Sonic to really have any type of proper blow to lay on him. Hell, half the time when I end up pointing out how a character doesn't make sense, everyone just defaults to going, oh well, no, she's still brainwashed by Starline, and that's the reason why she's doing it. So it's like it's not even her character at that point; it's just her just running off of the commands off of Starline. So any type of commentary you could work is already being defamed like that. But even if we did try fixing that, what's the rebuttal? Sonic is doing his job. Sonic is doing what you're supposed to do in an action adventure protagonist: beat up the bad guys and call it a day. It's up to the cops to come and arrest them. And I default back to what I was saying with Lanolin. They don't put these guys away because they're franchise villains. They can't go away for more than 5 seconds. So unless you're going to address that, and that's the reason why I think trying to have this conversation all is backwards, because at the end of the day, the answer isn't something in universe, and whatever in universe reason you're going to come that you're going to come across is just going to make the characters look like fucking morons. The best thing to do is to just not address it.
Okay. Okay. I guess. See, I'm a bit surprised by this because it feels like you're kind of coming into Sonic's camp a little bit. You're like, yeah, no, it's not his job. He's not a cop. He's doing
No. Here's the thing. I am coming into this as a fan of an action adventure protagonist character. Like, we more or less have kind of this conversation. Wait, hold up. No, we don't. Like, because I am usually a fan of these kind of characters. Like, I have these up right now. Like, Luffy and the Doctor more or less have the Luffy and the Doctor are more or less meant to kind of act in some of the ways that Sonic is supposed to. They are action adventure protagonists who go around travel around place to place, save the world, and all this kind of stuff. Now, since Oda is intelligent, he doesn't bring up these conversations with these guys because it doesn't make any fucking sense, because they're pirates. They don't need to bring this up, and it's fine. They do try addressing this with Doctor Who, mainly with Davy Zera, and I fucking hate it because it's always the most melodramatic crap. It's like, oh, you come in and save the day, but the second everything's done, you leave us to pick up the scraps. Yes, because he is here for traveling. At the end of the day, we are here for the adventures. We're not here to see him be some type of land manager and president trying to control every fucking thing. He leaves the people. He just comes in to try to help and move the fuck on, not to be everyone's boss and manager. Like, stop that. Which I'm kind of glad they just completely addressed and moved on from during the first season of 12 era, because I always found that to be a stupid conversation. So when it comes to Sonic, but here's the thing though. Doctor Who is actually better at setting this stuff up because they actually are allowed to have something resembling proper world building, especially when they have these conversations in present day, because they do have proper cops. They do equivalent of cops anyway. They do have something that could be resembling prisons. They do have the conversations about when it comes to reconstruction, all this kind of stuff. That doesn't apply here. We don't have any of this stuff. The world, as far as we can tell, besides a bunch of background characters, there is no proper infrastructure. There's no proper governments or police, military, actual named cop systems or anything like that. It's mainly just Sonic and the game characters, the Restoration, and a bunch of random villains.
Okay,
so it's kind of hard to even have the competition in the first place. But to get back to your point about I'm in Sonic's camp. No, I'm not in Sonic's camp. I am showing how this is a dumb conversation even outside of Sonic in the first place. My problem is when they do try having him come in to try to explain it, we get stuff like this. Oh wait, well, kind of like this, but mainly stuff like this, where it just makes him come off like a self-entitled tool who's just allowed to condescend and talk down to everybody. And I don't like this either. Again, when I saw this issue first announced, I was looking forward to Sonic beating up Surge because I found her to be so thematically vacuous and pointless that I was just like, just beat her up so we can just call it a day. And then I saw this scene. I was like, you know what? When you end up, not just because of his face, but when you end up having him basically go like, well, I know that you probably have some type of issues with me, but I've made plenty of peace with people with enough enemies to know that there's a better way. So why don't you just drop everything that you were mad at me about? Let's just start fresh, okay? I'm like, you know what, Serge? I know you're really just doing this because you have not properly dealt with your issues with Starlight or whatever. You can punch his face in because he kind of needs it at this point. Like, no one would like. I am criticizing it just from a world. I was criticizing it earlier from a world building perspective, but being this entitled, unwilling to take on responsibility and absolutely being up his own ass this much. No, I don't want this either.
Okay,
But
see,
you don't
okay,
agree with this. That's my point.
can I say, okay, so there's, okay, Surge. Okay, I'll talk about why I think Surge and Lanolin are both angry. Okay, um, so Surge is angry
Oh, yeah, just
because, okay,
focus on Surge right
because,
now, then we'll jump to Lanolin, please.
huh, wait, sorry, what?
Just focus on Surge right now, then we'll jump to Lanolin. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, Surge. So Surge, I don't think she's mad, because she's like, it's Sonic's job. He's like a cop. It's his job to take out Eggman because someone told him it was or something. I think Surge is angry. One, because the whole world tells her that like Sonic the Hedgehog is this great hero. It's not him, maybe. It's not him positioning himself in that way. But it sort of just turned out that Sonic saved the world so much that like that maybe at some point the world kind of pigeonholed him into that position that he is the hero. It's basically his job to like take out Eggman. Okay, so if that's the way that the world is gonna present him, it's like infuriating to her. Maybe that is like it feels like a sham that like Sonic just like lets Eggman go every single time, and maybe he's just doing it for fun, etc., etc. He's not. He gets all the benefit, all the fame, all the love, right, for being this quote unquote hero, right? Even though maybe he didn't ask for it himself, she doesn't know that, and I don't know if she cares. But he gets all of that, and but he doesn't follow through. So that's like number one why she's angry. Okay. Number
Okay, hold
two
on, hold on,
is
hold
that
on.
wait. Can I say? Can I
Yeah.
just finish? Second reason she's angry is because he had so many times he's had Eggman's life in his hands, pretty much. Eggman like on the ropes, and he could have like ended him at any point after defeating him, after he was like no longer a threat, and he just didn't. And because he let him go, right, that sort of led to the maybe I don't know what do you call it? Like it led to the chain of events that resulted in Surge's creation. Um, that resulted in her and maybe being taken away from her family, or maybe being taken away from her life, right? For her being turned into a science experiment that was torn apart and experimented on again and again and again. Yeah, and it was because he, maybe in a roundabout way, he did make Eggman do that. But I don't think she sees it that way. He let her go. He enabled Eggman, and here's the result. She's the result, and she's not happy about it. So those are my two reasons.
All
Um,
right, here's the problem. Those
Go ahead.
reasons don't apply to Surge. That's Lanolin's reasons, and I already explained why those don't apply to Lanolin. Why it doesn't make sense for Lanolin to go that route in the first place. Because at the end of the day, Sonic is not a cop. There is no like even if he ends up taking them down, even if he ends up beating Eggman, it's not his job to kill them. At the end of the day, that should be whatever cop organization is supposed to exist in the universe. And unless you're going to make the case that Sonic is preventing them from arresting him, which he's not, that's not his job. That's Lan's problem. So I already covered that. But when it comes to Surge, her problems, there's a reason why people are when they try defending her, they usually default to it being about, oh, she's doing all this stuff because she's still brainwashed by Surge, oh, still brainwashed by Starline. Because
Which I
that
didn't say, just
I
FYI.
know, I know you didn't say that, but my problem is that's actually a better defense because I don't like it either. But that is the very least is a better through line to how she's supposed to end up getting mad at Sonic. Because in order to get mad at Sonic for a situation, she would need to get so much stuff, so many things backwards in order to get to Sonic. Because he is the tertiary reason. Like this is also a tertiary reason why she ended up in this situation in the first place. The first people to blame would be Starline, then Eggman, not him. Not him. Like, and even if you did want to try going down that route, she's so disconnected. Any type of commentary you can make towards her, towards him from her perspective is going to be too watered down for it to hit properly. If you want to make this kind of case properly, It would need to be someone who turned into a villain because he didn't do anything to stop Eggman. It directly ended up having their life completely wrecked apart because of Sonic's inaction. And again, I default to my original position. So what? Like, where are we going to go with this? Are we going to just go? The only thing that we get out of this is establishing that yes, Sonic is a complete piece of shit that doesn't that is fully willing to just let people suffer just so he can keep his hands clean. Why we do not gain anything from making the 3 foot tall blue hedgehog look like a sanctimonious piece of shit who does the bare minimum? That doesn't make sense. That's not interesting. That's not some type of moral discussion. That's being too meta savvy. So being so meta savvy that you're putting your head firmly up your own ass. That doesn't make sense.
Okay, I disagree. I think that the reasons I said. Well, okay, I'm going back to the.
Oh, like so let's put it this way.
And the reasons I said,
no, hold up.
Because,
hold up. I have to say this real quick because you're about to defend Surge, right? You're about to go into Surge again, right?
Yes, I am.
Did you read the annual?
Which one?
The newest one, 2024.
The newest one? No, I haven't.
Okay, so this is the reason why it's going to work again. Here's the thing. That explicitly ends up stating what Surge's new motivation is going to be. And the whole thing about it is that she is mad that again, it's the whole like
okay, wait. Huh? All my entire discussion is limited to what I've read so far.
Okay.
So it's gonna be like issue 50 up to maybe maybe issue 65, something like that. So the annual, I didn't read that. It's gonna be so basically issue 50. I think that she mostly stayed the same from then, maybe up to that annual. Okay. Yeah. So in that case, I think I'm going by like what she said. She said that I'm angry because you didn't pull the trigger on Eggman, and you let Starline create me. So I'm mad. That's what she said. I don't think Lanolin was like created by Eggman. So I think that it applies to her. And something that you said is that Surge is blaming the wrong person. And I don't think she is, because she's not just blaming Sonic. She's angry at Eggman too. No, but the thing about Sonic is that Eggman isn't running around saying, "Oh, I'm so sanctimonious. Oh, I'm doing this for the good of the people." Not that Sonic is saying that, but I think that's like the discussion around Sonic in the world, where Sonic is like, he does the he's this good guy. Hold on. He does the right thing. He's this perfect blue boy, and he's like the best.
Hold on, I can't hear you. You're too far away from your mic.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Very good.
Yeah, he's this perfect blue boy, and he's the best. Okay, but people look at Eggman accurately, where he's like, he's a villain. He's not gonna change, and he loves killing people, maybe, or turning them into robots. so I think that's probably like what makes it worse for Sonic. Why she calls him out, because he's like this hero. He's supposed to protect people, but he then wasn't there to protect her. Or if he did really want to protect people, then he would have like pulled the trigger. So that's why I think. So yeah, I don't know. I think my reasons apply. I don't know. Also, there is a jail. Remember the bad guys, right?
No. I know I brought up the jail. My whole point here is that if you're not going to actually go into the commentary about how you can keep these guys in prison, all this kind of stuff. But again, my whole point is the whole reason that this happens is not because of some stupid, the quote unquote Sonic cycle. Like, again, this is where my whole thing is. Flynn, mainly Flynn, but Flynn and Stanley both do this, where they just kind of try to get so meta, so genre savvy that they just big brain themselves and put their heads up their asses. Because again, the whole reason this happens is not because of some in-universe problem. It's because of the whole how the franchise is built in the first place. And trying to go work backwards and to try to make it seem like it's in-universe when it's not defeats misses the fucking point and defangs any type of commentary you can have on it. Especially when they're not actually doing any direct commentary with Sonic's character in the first place, nor are they trying to do anything to actually build or have him grow from this in the first place. Because every single time they have him try to get confronted on this in story, they just have someone as either someone just put up the most shallow of rebuttals, mainly first with Shadow, then with SBO, and then kind of tails. But each and every time it gets weaker and weaker to the point that they don't want that they weaker and weaker that it barely works as a rebuttal, and then they never follow it, and they're never properly followed back up, or there are any actual consequences from it. Furthermore, if we are really going to try to look about this in universe, Sonic is not the god of this goddamn universe. Like, fuck the fact that that this would be more of a cop situation. Literally, if they were looking to have this conversation, it wouldn't just be Sonic. It would be everyone who should be having this rebuttal. And if there was such a problem, Shadow, if Sonic was so like, oh, I'm just going to just do the bare minimum, take down Eggman and move on, Shadow would jump in, Tails would jump in, Amy would jump in. Literally, so many, like, this is not just the Sonic. Ironically enough, this isn't the Sonic story, and this isn't just Sonic in this universe. There are billions of other people here, but we're just putting it on Sonic's, making it seem like this is only Sonic's decision because, he's the franchise character. He's the one who should be god of this. So all this should be his fault, right? This is all based on his motivations, right? No, he's not the only one doing this. So trying to make it seem like this whole thing about why Eggman is never put back in is only because of Sonic doesn't make any fucking sense. Doesn't make sense in universe because he's not the only one doing it. He's not even ignoring the fact there are no cops. He's not the only one doing this shit. And out of universe, it doesn't make sense to do this because the whole reason is because of a character mindset. Is because of the fucking franchise itself.
Okay,
so
wait.
That's why I just say don't do it. There's no because here's my turn for a question. Your whole defense for this is because we're trying to have a conversation about the shit, right?
What do you mean?
The whole point about trying to do these conversations about exploring Sonic's morality is because it's supposed to be interesting. We're actually getting into the depths of like the ups and downs of this morality, right?
Yeah.
Name the last time that anyone actually was able to have a proper discussion, conversation about this shit.
I don't know. Right now, maybe.
So if we count Surge, which fine, we can counter. One, not only is it incredibly undermined by most people in the fan base, because no one ends up taking her seriously by this. Most people just count this as just her being brainwashed and just ignore being brainwashed, just running off the Starline's mindset and just fucking ignore anything that she's coming out of. Sonic never has to deal with any type of like humbling or actually having to like properly discuss it. This is the best we really fucking get. There's no proper follow up from this. So we're not having an actual conversation. This is just Flynn and Stanley, like I said, trying too hard to be meta and then fucking it up. And then we're supposed to try to treat this as deep. It's not deep in universe because it fucks up. It completely misunderstands how deontology is supposed to work in the first place. It doesn't work as a character motivation because it actively works against how Sonic works basically everywhere else. And it doesn't work out of universe either because half the audience doesn't get it. Because this isn't trying to have a conversation. It's just trying to throw in something to pretend to be deep, so it can pretend to be deep and addressing this shit and move the fuck on.
Okay. So one of the arguments that you just made was that Surge, like everyone is sort of, well, someone should have stepped up, like Tails or Amy or Shadow, to like address Surge's concerns.
No. I'm not talking about addressing Surge's concerns. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this whole fucking argument. If this was actually meant to be an in-universe concern,
kill Eggman or put him in jail. Is that what you mean?
If that was actually meant to be a thing, this wouldn't just be solely Sonic's call. It would on
all of them, right?
Yeah, and it's not.
Okay, wait. Okay, in that case, that's true. Okay, but then I think Surge is angry at all of them. She's angry at mostly Sonic because he's like the figurehead. But she's like, I want to burn it all down. The whole facade, the whole this and that.
And here's the thing. Okay,
I do remember. Sorry, I do remember one thing from the annual. I don't know if I read the whole thing, but I remember one part. Maybe it was posted on Twitter where it was like, he's like, I don't want to be mad at a society that's like too inept to take care of itself. Which seems to imply to me that before she was blaming all of society, the society that was too coddled, that basically coddled Sonic like an infant, even though he wasn't. He's probably the only person who's like powerful enough to get close to killing Eggman, to like pulling the trigger again and again and again and again and again, and refusing to do it for some reason, maybe. And yeah, so I think, yeah, maybe before that point, she was literally just mad at all of them. So I think that the argument that Surge isn't directing her anger correctly or at the right person, she is. I think she's. Sorry, I need to stop saying I think. It's like a tick. She was directing it at Sonic, who didn't kill Eggman. She was directing it at Eggman, who resulted in her creation. She was directing it at Sonic's friends, who coddle him and enable him. She was angry at society for being okay with or lifting up Sonic as a hero, even though he failed to protect her. So I think that she was directing her anger correctly. Also, with the brainwashing thing, I don't know. I haven't seen this, so I can't speak to this. Uh, but I would say if they are just saying that it's Starline brainwashing, I don't know. I would disagree. I think that's a worse argument. I don't know because of the reasons I just said. Because I think that yeah, the narrative did show that she was directing her anger accurately. So yeah.
That's okay. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm gonna be honest. I don't give two. I consider Surge to be less than a joke of a character, just for the simple fact of she's too pathetic to be able to handle her own in anything. Like the fact that she can't, like she's basically like 0-4 against anyone who actually can, 1-4 against anyone who actually can fight properly, and even then that one win basically relied on her getting a cheap shot. I don't take her seriously to any degree on even as a fighter, as commentary, nothing. She's a bastardized attempt at trying to repurpose Scourge into the series, but completely missing the point of how Scourge worked in the first place. So I don't really give two shits about her. My point here was about the commentary in general. This should, if they want to have this conversation, this should be a conversation amongst all the characters. This should be a proper discussion. But the fact that, because like, for example, if the whole idea is that Sonic is supposed to be like, oh, I'm totally okay with letting all these people go free because I believe in freedom above all else, even for the people who are looking to take that freedom from others. More than there should have been way more of contrast and a fall off from that, from literally more than one with any character who has more than two brain cells to run, any more than two characters who have their brain cells to rub together, and more. And like I said, in particular, this wouldn't just be Sonic's call. Like I said, there should be an entire fucking world who should have a much different decision about this. But again, the whole point of reason that we're doing this is not because of the Indian-verse thing. It's because of it's just because of this is how these kind of franchises work. So trying to blame the characters for a meta situation that's more about branding than anything else, I already find it to be fucking moronic to begin with, especially when no other branch of the franchise has this problem. But in particular, when it comes to Surge, but coming back to Surge a little bit here, I don't have any reason to try to take this commentary really seriously from her. One, not only because most people don't, because I have when I do try to discuss how much this does make sense, I usually get a lot of defenses from other IDW fans going like, well, she's under mind control, so you could just ignore her. Which is already a problem in the first place. But in particular, where do you fucking go with this? It's not like Sonic is actually having to deal with any proper consequences or any actual like having to get to the root of how this makes sense, because it doesn't make sense. It is just here for the aesthetic. So here's the thing. I want you to explain to me, besides just saying like, oh, a character can actually say a particular thing, I need you to explain to me how this reaches past just invoking something to be deep. How is it just so it can pretend to be deep? What does it actually do with it beyond that?
Okay. Well, if I understand this problem correctly, well, I'll make this problem maybe or connect it to another issue you have, where or that you said. So you said that Sonic doesn't really have any consequences for his actions. But I disagree. I think that Surge is one big consequence.
No, she's not a joke.
She is. She is. She tried to kill him, and she tried to kill
literally
many
everyone.
more people.
No, dude, it's an action series.
And
Literally
she
everyone
almost
tried killing him.
succeeded.
That does not count.
Why not?
Because it's an action series. Literally everyone's trying to kill each other all the fucking time. That doesn't matter or anything. That's just that.
No. Blaze has never tried to kill Sonic.
Yes,
in this
Sonic
comic.
Rush. That was literally her trying to kill him. That's literally in universe in the comic book story. They actually invoke that as a reason for why. Like, oh yeah, I was.
Hold on. Tails has never tried. Hold on. Wait.
What happened?
Fine. Tails has never tried to kill Sonic in this book, so you're wrong. That statement.
Okay, now. Okay, hold up. No. Please don't do that. When I'm talking about everybody, what my whole point here,
It's a very specific group of people.
Okay, let me go and be specific. When you are an action character in a series like this and you are looking to fight bad guys, you don't get to complain about people who are trying to kill you, because that's literally what's going on. That's literally the whole point of the role in the first place. 1, 2, you really can't use Surge as that. You can't add Surge on that list when she's a joke villain. She barely can. Like I said, you can't take her seriously as a fighter because she can't. She has no proper wins in the series on her own. The only time she was able to get a proper shot on Sonic was when she had to overjuice herself and still fucked up. And the other time was when she had to get a cheap shot when he was distracted with a bunch of other characters. He does not take her seriously, so that doesn't even count as a consequence. Remember when we had this whole conversation originally? We were talking about this from Batman, with Batman, with Superman, with Daredevil. The whole reason that ends up coming up with those, I haven't seen the exact example with Superman, but when it comes to like Batman and with Daredevil, in Batman's case, we end up seeing character when he ends up having his no-kill rule. We literally see one of his previous Robins who ends up dying because he has a no-kill rule, coming back trying to kill him in the first place. He doesn't have, so we don't get that. So, which actually counts as a proper personal, counts as an actual consequence. Not just, I get another person. It's an actual someone who he considered to be a family member coming after him. And in Daredevil's case, the whole reason that ends up being a problem with him not having a no-kill rule towards like Kingpin, for example, is that he ends up either blackmailing or actively putting people he's associated with, or actively killing his family members in order to get back at him because of his no-kill rule. Those are actual consequences. Getting a joke character to try who only shows up every once in a while to basically be a joke, to barely only able to get hits in when he only get cheap hits in, does not count as a consequence. I need you to give me something a little bit better than that.
Okay, so aside from the fact that consequences are a continuum from more extreme to less extreme.
I mean, even serious consequence, not just something you can kind of cause a negative. I mean, something that's meant to be a personal consequence.
Even a mild nuisance could be
considered
a consequence.
No, we are no. I am fully going to interrupt you on that. No, we are not counting Surge. I am not. No, I'm going to just shut you down on this right now. We are not counting Surge. Surge does not count as a.
I want to count Surge because Surge
I need an actual consequence, not just some joke character. Give me someone someone he actually gives a shit about, not just some rando.
No, see, I'm not gonna throw away my strongest argument because
if that's your strongest argument, if Surge is your strongest argument, you do not have a good argument. No, seriously.
Oh my
Surge is a joke in universe.
She
cannot do anything without getting a cheap attack. She is not a threat to any degree. Even Sonic doesn't treat her as one.
She's gotten closer to killing him than Shadow, Blaze.
And she had no. You're cutting out the context for that. She basically had to rely on getting super charged up and getting powered up for 90 different ways in order to even get that close, and she still fucking failed.
Okay,
and she's not going to get another shot like that again. So again, why am I going to count that? That doesn't count.
If someone in a wheelchair gets an AK-47 to try and take me out, and a helicopter, they
and still fucks up.
Me out from
and still fucks up.
That would be insane. That would be insanely scary. And I would be I wouldn't be oh my goodness, what a joke. This isn't a consequence at all. What a mild nuisance.
No. Again, this is why I'm telling you, stop using Surge because she does not count. Because literally, the very next time
she does.
Literally, the very next time she shows up after that, he's treating her like a fucking joke. Even in issue 75, he's still treating her like a fucking joke, like everyone else.
I'm like, who? Is Sonic treating her any differently than he treats anybody else?
No.
He treats her with the appropriate level of aggression based on how much of a threat she is at the time.
Did you read 75?
Is that the newest one?
Yes.
No.
No, he still treats her like a fucking joke in that one.
Doesn't he treat Eggman like a joke? He calls him Egghead. It seems like the way he treats everyone.
All my point. No, seriously, that's my point. That's literally my point. The whole reason that we're trying to have this whole reason we jump into this conversation.
Eggman?
No. The whole reason we are having this conversation right now is because the whole thing I'm trying to say right now is that Sonic needs to deal with an actual fucking consequence for having this mindset in the first place. Adding some rando character onto his list who's honestly who's less of a threat than everyone else. Adding another rando onto his list that's weaker than everyone else that he's ever had to deal with, who only can be a threat when she gets cheap shots, does not count. If your whole and here's the thing, what you're trying to say right now is like, well, he treats her the same way he treats Eggman. That's not helping you. Then it doesn't count because he also treats Eggman like a goddamn joke.
No, I'm saying that to point out the absurdity of your argument. So if you're saying that like Surge isn't a joke, it's a joke because Sonic treats Sonic treats her like a joke. He treats Eggman like a joke. So that would seem to imply that Eggman is a joke. He actually is a joke, and it's not just Sonic treating him like that. And I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's treated that way by the narrative. I don't know if you actually believe that Eggman is literally that Sonic treating Eggman.
No. Hold on. The whole reason that the whole point here, like, here's the thing: we have now established that Eggman in this universe is willing to commit genocide in order to achieve his goals. I honestly do think he either needs to get thrown in jail, he needs to be arrested and thrown in jail for the rest of his life, or needs to be put into a pack. Now, personally speaking, I don't think that story should happen in the first place, but it is what it is. That's where we're looking at this point. My problem is, Sonic treats them just like a joke, like everyone else. So the whole point of having this conversation is that we need to see a personal consequence to him for this shit, not just he gets another rando on his list of people who are just trying to kill him. That's not interesting. One, that doesn't hurt him or is a personal chain offense. And when you try to like, he treats her like a joke just like Eggman does, that's the problem. And again, that feeds back into my point. The whole reason I listed Batman and Daredevil on that list is because those ended up being personal hits to them, personal consequences that made them have to reflect on these situations in the first on their morals in the first goddamn place. But I still would, and even those situations, they don't parallel here because Sonic never has to deal with that type of processing to begin with. And even after all that, and even after that shit, even with all those shit, even with all of that, I would still say I'd rather exist in a universe where that shit just didn't happen. Because there's no benefit to doing that stuff in the first. Because there's no benefit to doing that kind of shit in the first place, we don't actually get actual type of character development or any type of growth or development out of it. It's just another way for the characters to go like, well, yeah, I have this principle, I have this mindset, it causes way more problems and actually hurts me and actually ends up causing more problems than anything else, but I have to stand by it for whatever reason. Here's a better idea. Don't put it in. Here's the thing. I would much rather have to deal with the characters having to get stronger and develop their abilities and get more creative and actually building off of that than trying to do these whole half-ass attempts at doing moral dilemma debates where the ultimate decision every single fucking time is, yeah, I have these sets of principles. They actively make things worse for everything else, for me and everyone else around me, but I gotta stick to them not because of the brand. No, it's not because of that. It's because of my own personal beliefs or the personal beliefs that barely make any fucking sense. Yeah, that's why I'm going to go with it. No. I'd rather have shonen. Let's get shonen. Let's try to find a way to make ourselves stronger kind of shit, and actually make that and try to make that as compelling as possible. Versus let's try to fuck up Mortal, try to have a half attempt at a Mortal Dilemma discussion and still don't do anything with it. Not actually have a moral discussion and actually figure out how to make things better. No, just reference Mortal Dilemmas just so we can pretend we're deep for 5 seconds. That's the whole problem. So the question I have for you is how is having a position, establishing that Sonic has a position that actively makes shit worse, instead of just letting it be, it's the franchise shit, you just gotta roll with it. But no, we need to state it in universe and explicitly state it is making stuff worse, but not doing anything to actually grow or understand or actually develop as a character. Just reference the fact that we have a moral dilemma versus just doing shonen strength shit. Because I'd rather see shonen strength shit. How is this better than that?
I will answer that in a second, but I just want to go. And after this is the last thing I'm going to say about Surge, because you want to move on. I want to move on.
All right.
Okay. You said, okay. I said that Surge is a consequence of Sonic's actions. She's something that he has to deal with because of something he did or something he didn't do, which might be the same thing. I don't know. I'm not a philosophy nerd. And then you said, no, she's not a consequence because she's a joke. And as evidence of that, you said that Sonic treats her like a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought up Eggman. Sonic treats Eggman like a joke. He calls him Egghead.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I bring that up is to show that, okay, that must mean that if Sonic treats Eggman like a joke, then that must mean that in your world, because he treats it, because apparently that's how we're deciding who is a joke or not, Eggman must also be a joke. So if Eggman is a joke, then there's no way I can Eggman is the most threatening thing to Sonic in this comic.
No, that's not how that works.
So there's no way
no, that's not how that works.
I can present a
no,
consequence.
Hold up. You're making you're already making a logical jump. That's not what I was even remotely implying.
Okay.
The whole reason,
I think that you did imply that.
No, I didn't. The whole reason I was talking about consequences and I was using Batman and Daredevil in particular is because I was explicitly stating, yes, these are not just random, not just a specific thing not just some random effect that comes out of one of their decisions. No, I mean something that is explicitly detrimental and has a negative impact on them to some degree. The fact is, if you end up just the fact that Sonic treats her like a joke means that he does not count. This is not the same when it comes to Daredevil.
Which is exactly what I just said.
No. When I was, like I said, let me answer you like this. Okay. Does having Surge, a character we've already established that Sonic treats like a joke, she can't win a fight without getting a cheap shot? How is that meant to be the exact same, anywhere near the same consequence as Daredevil getting his friends either blackmailed, put their lives in danger, or just straight up killed? How are those remotely the same thing? Especially, and again, if Sonic isn't even treating it seriously, how is those remotely the same thing?
No matter what handicaps a person has, even if they're in a wheelchair, or if they're short, or if they're farsighted, if they get in the helicopter and try to shoot my house down with like a missile launcher, then I'd be okay calling that a consequence. An immediate mortal threat to my life. She got closer to killing him than I think any of his rivals. She almost electrocuted him to death, which is pretty painful. I mean, I was in an electronics class, and then I got shocked, and it really hurt. So I imagine that was like probably 10 times worse. So it doesn't really matter what handicap she needs.
So your best defense, So your best defense for this girl is, well, even though he still treats her like a joke,
just like Eggman,
and has no change.
No, that's not a good argument because he treats Eggman like a joke. He treats
that's my point. No.
So Eggman is a joke.
No. Eggman treating Eggman like a joke. If anything, is my point. If anything, is adding to my list, not taking away from it. The whole core problem with this is Sonic doesn't take any of this shit seriously. He does not. So the whole reason about trying to make it the whole reason I brought up the Batman and the Daredevil examples is to explicitly show yes. Not just random consequences, not just a negative effect that comes out of one of his decisions. I mean something that is personally detrimental to who he is. Something that actually causes him to lose something personal to who he is as a person. Not just he ends up kind of almost dying for someone that he still treats as a joke 5 minutes later. So are you trying to tell me right now that someone that he still treats as a joke is meant to be the same level as someone someone getting killed from their decisions? That's what you need to argue. That's what you need to try to make the equivalency for right now. Are those the same thing? Are those even remotely in the same ballpark?
Yes.
How? How is this?
That's it.
How is this the same thing as Daredevil having his friends get killed for his inaction?
I don't know if I'm gonna.
Then why are you saying that they're the same thing if you don't know?
I'm saying I don't think I'm gonna convince you here. So that's it.
Do you know? No. Then what's your reasoning? What's your reasoning? Because I don't want it to seem like I'm just bullying you to say something. I want you to be able to explain.
You're not being bullied. I said I don't know what else I can say. She almost killed him. Okay, Sonic treats everyone like a joke. So saying that she treats him like, okay,
then it doesn't count as a personal consequence. Because the whole thing is that you
Eggman. Okay, I'm saying
not just like, oh, you inconvenience the character and hurt him for 5 minutes. Because we know Sonic's not gonna die. He's the fucking face of the franchise. He's explicitly not dying, so that doesn't count. and in universe, he still treats him like a joke. Still treats him like a joke and just moves forward like it's nothing.
Okay.
So again, I'm not talking
A
about just, you
consequence.
can name a negative consequence. I mean just something remotely considered a negative consequence. I mean something that actively hurts him in a way that he cannot come back from. How is being and again, you keep trying
So
to
he
say like,
can't come back from it. That
she basically
doesn't
had
seem
to
like
juice herself up 90 different ways, and she's still fucked up, and she can't do just to even be able to get close enough to be able to do anything to him properly while he is injured, need I mind you, and she still couldn't do it. So why does that even remotely count as someone actively had another character who actually had their friends get killed and the friends and family members get killed? How are those remotely the same thing?
Okay. So you acknowledge that on a meta level, Sonic can't get killed. He can't die because he's like the main character. So and I don't know if any of his friends can die either. So I think the worst consequences that Sonic can have, or maybe the robots can die. Probably not the furries. So the worst that can probably be done to Sonic within the logic of the Sonic world is probably trying to kill you or almost killing you. That's probably the worst thing that can happen to you.
You do realize that makes my point, right? If you don't have that's my point. That's literally my point. That you can't, if you don't even have the teeth to be able to go and actually follow through with what the consequences would be, then you don't need to be doing this shit in the first place. I don't think you should be doing it, period. That any of these series should be doing it, period, because it usually just leads to just moral hand wringing, so you pretend that you're deep. That's the whole problem. And the best thing you can go is like, well, he kind of almost died. I mean, I know he's never going to die, but he almost died, and that should be considered as the same thing as someone having their friends and family get killed because of their inaction. That's what you're trying to argue for right now.
That's a problem. Also, I don't remember correctly exactly. I feel like at some point Sonic didn't felt bad about Surge's creation. I know this happened at some point.
Yeah, I know. No, that happened. That happened in issue 55. I know.
Okay, yeah, so that's a problem. He feels bad. It's not good. Oh boy, I created Surge and I don't feel good about that. So that's a problem.
No, he didn't. First off, it's silent, so we can't even 100% confirm what it's supposed to be. But the best implication that comes out of that scene is that he feels bad for being so dismissive about beforehand. But I can't even confirm that probably because we don't actually get any insight to what he's actually thinking at that point. It could literally be anything.
Maybe. So I guess then I don't, since I don't remember, I guess I'm just left with the physical threat to his person. See, the way I define consequence is a problem that's your fault. The way I define a problem is like an inconvenience. It can be like a small inconvenience, like a fly landing on your head, or it can be an extreme inconvenience.
That's why I keep trying to redefine this, because I keep trying to make sure that you understand. I don't just mean a negative inconvenience or something. I mean, if anything, that's a problem right now. You're trying to equivocate the idea that Sonic being inconvenienced for a couple of seconds is the same thing as someone losing their love, having their friends and family members get killed. That's why I'm ending up getting heated right now, because that's the equivalency you're trying to make right now to defend this.
No, it's a spectrum. I'm saying if you need to use a different word because we have
that. No, I can't.
Say extreme consequence and not just consequence.
The whole reason that we're doing this right now,
because you're confusing me.
No, the reason I can't go to a different thing right now is because you're the one who set the standard on this. You're the one who ended up saying like, oh yeah, no, we need to go ahead and do this because this is what we end up making it like really deep, and we can end up having like really good insight to who he is as a character. But I'm like, we're already failing at this first stage that even in universe we're not actually doing proper character work with them in the first. By design, we can't do proper character work with them in the first place, and we can't even do proper consequences to actually have him suffer from this kind of inaction in the first place. Other than at best, he kind of like gets inconvenienced for 5 seconds. That's not.
Is that the word we're using? Proper consequences.
Huh?
Is that the word we're using? Proper consequences, and not just consequences, because consequences can mean any number of things. It's a very
and that's the reason why I've been trying. That's the reason why I've been pushing back. like 4 times at this point, have already I've already clarified what I meant by consequence. Not just some random inconvenience. I mean an actual detriment to his person, actual detriment to who he is, and something he can't just immediately bounce back from. I've already clarified this like 4 times. You're the one who keeps trying to come back and say like, well, they're kind of the same thing. I'm like, I need you to explain to me how they're remotely the same thing. Don't pull some spectrum crap.
Okay, sure.
How are those the same?
Okay, so an extreme consequence that he can't come back from. Well, he can't unmake Surge.
Who the fuck cares? No, again, who the fuck cares? He barely does. Not something else. You can't. No, I've already explained why Surge is a guy. I need you to give me something else.
Yeah, the narrative seems to be getting on his case on that.
No, it doesn't.
At least in issue 50.
They've been backing away from this shit for a while. They've done anything. They haven't really even followed this shit up properly since. At best, it's the annual. I don't even want to count the annual because that is the definition of getting so meta.
Then she like come back and like she came back to like the restoration. She was sort of mocking him. She was like, "Oh, wow, just like that, huh? You're gonna let me in here, huh? And then I'm gonna kill everyone here, huh?"
No, that's the reason why I don't like Flynn's writing style, and that does not count.
Doesn't count. Wait, what do you mean?
Okay, first off, people have already been pointing out how stupid this was in the first place, because we end up having Sonic, who already knows that she's probably full of shit on, who's already in the know that she's probably full of shit on this. And when he's trying to force and gaslight pretty much everyone else into going along with this too, Whisper's the one who push back on him and goes like, "No, I don't want to work with this bitch. She almost tried killing me at one point." Which I'm like, yeah, that's why this is fucking stupid to begin with. Yeah, that's why this is fucking stupid to begin with. Because Flynn because none of his editors are coming in and smacking the taste out of his mouth. And I do think they need to do this at this point because he's already got chewed out by more than just me for how stupid this is. And he keeps trying to keep going further and further and trying to draw the idea of like, no, the idea of Sonic continuing to have these guys come around is such a bad idea. No, this is fucking moronic. The problem I'm having is we're still spinning around the exact same thing. He keeps whining about the same Sonic cycle. He's the one who's invoking it. He's the one who's making it the problem. Stanley's actually doing more to actually trying to move away and actually pushing it into a better story. She's not doing it, but she's at least trying.
One thing, if Sonic sees Surge as a joke, then him asking her to join the Diamond Cutters, it seems to logically follow. If he doesn't see her as a threat, then it would make sense then. From your point of view, you see Surge as a joke. Yes.
No.
He would. Treating her not like a threat. Him treating her like she's not going to hurt anybody.
No, those are two different things.
It logically follows, actually.
You get
that would be good writing.
No. There's a difference between saying something that you don't consider someone to be a joke and then making an objectively stupid decision. Just because he can properly handle her does not mean that she can't do damage to anyone else. Like I said, she literally just got into a fight with Whisper and beat her ass, and no one else in the Diamond Cutters are anything resembling decent fighters. So there's no reason for me to think that she couldn't handle all of them either. So trying to bring this objectively volatile dumbass of a character doesn't into this group of a bunch of people who at best are weak ass fighter, at worst are too pumped are too wimpy to actually be able to put up a decent fight is already a stupid idea in the first place. There's a difference between me thinking he doesn't see her as a threat to himself versus actually bringing in someone who could actually cause some shit in the first place. Like there are a couple of people online. I know a couple of people who I know I could easily take them in a fight, but that doesn't mean I'm going to bring them into my work, or bring them into a school, or bring them into somewhere where they could easily end up doing damage and hurting people there too. Those are very different things.
So Surge is just a threat to the world. Like she's not a threat to Sonic.
She is an annoyance. She can do some damage. She's not a world threat. She's not a world threat, but I can easily see her actually
to the local society. Maybe like a city.
But she needs to get
She burned a forest down once.
Huh?
She burned down a forest. You remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, like maybe like a forest-sized society. She's like a threat.
Okay, what's your point?
I'm trying to figure out like if you think she's a threat or not. Yeah,
I literally just explained it.
She's not a threat to Sonic, but she is a threat to everyone else. Is that what you're saying?
No, not to everyone else. Not to everyone else. That's a bit of an overstatement. I'm saying, can she do damage? Yes. Should she have gotten put down? Really, the correct answer is her ass should have gotten retired at issue 56 because she does not add anything else to the story. I don't care how many of her fans just like the idea of having some punk girl who's honestly biggest bitch, who's the biggest bottom in the entire series. She does not need to be in the story. The correct answer I have for her character is she should have gotten retired a long time ago.
Okay. Sorry,
huh?
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead. I don't want to.
Just because I don't, like my whole point about saying that she's not a threat is she's not a threat to Sonic. Sonic can easily deal with. Sonic can probably deal with her properly. My whole point, which is that's my standard of whether or not someone could be considered a threat. Like when I go back to One Piece, like for example, in the manga right now, the previous arc started out with Luffy getting a chance to fight one of his past big bads, and the whole joke that a lot of people had in the fandom was, "Oh, dude, you're a pre-time skip villain. You're not on Luffy's level. You're more like an Usopp level opponent. Like you can do kind of damage, but you're not really a threat to us." No, but the thing is, could I easily see him going into like on a past island with a bunch of normal people being able to fuck some shit up? Absolutely. But the whole standard I have for series like this is not how much damage they can do to other random people. You're not You're not an action series with a bunch of people with superpowers. Unless they're complete fucking morons, you can do damage with any ability if you're creative enough. The standard I have is, are they a proper threat for the protagonist? Because at the end of the day, this is not a story about every random character in the fucking universe. This is a story about the main characters and what they're going through, what their standards are, what they need to be going for. And if they're not a threat to them, I don't know why we're here. They shouldn't be. If they're not at least something of an actual physical threat to them and being able to be proper challenges to them, they shouldn't be set up as antagonists to begin with, unless they're meant to be fodder.
Wait, okay. Here's the thing. I actually agree with you. So Batman's a good example or Under the Red Hood, because in Under the Red Hood was never really a physical threat to Batman. Like in their fight, he sort of punked him and like because he trained him, he made him look like a joke. The thing about Red Hood is that Red Hood was a moral threat to Batman. He was like going around killing villains, like he was trying to spin it in the face of his philosophy, right? He was one like that moral threat where he was like to get back at Batman. He was like showing him, look at how much more effective I can be when I do this thing, right? So that's why Batman needed to take him down, number one. And number two, he went around after that. I think he nuked Bloodhaven, tried to kill Nightwing and like everyone in there. And then he tried to kill Tim Drake after that. So he tried to kill the people around Batman. So I think, yes, a villain, they should show some threat. They should have some threat to the hero that doesn't necessarily need to be physical, right? Or towards them necessarily. It can be the people around them. It can be the world they love, right? It can be their principles, right? I think that's what Surge does. She goes around.
No, she doesn't.
That's a result of what.
I'm up to date. She is not even remotely in that territory. She has not even remotely in that goddamn territory. She is honestly, she's the most thematically bankrupt character, one of the most thematically bankrupt character in the series, which is saying something considering the number of characters in the series, the number of characters who are just like that. She is not some type of thematic contrast to Sonic to any goddamn degree. Flynn keeps trying to be meta and have some stupid commentary with him, but it doesn't sit properly because she doesn't have anything to properly say other than just going, "Oh, there's a Sonic cycle and they're going to just keep doing this over and over again." And her only response is to go, "Well, we'll jump up and be heroes so we can get all the credit and praise too," even after establishing that she's just as bad. She's actually worse at doing this in the first place. And okay, even if she does end up going around saving people, okay, and actually gets good at it, okay, so what are you going to do? Then you're going to jump around to try to fight Sonic? Okay, for what? So we're just going to turn to some stupid PR campaign? What? Stupid PR campaign? For what? Okay, first off, neither one of them are neither Surge or Kid are that fucking smart, so they're not going to go that route. And even if they did, for fucking what? Again, for fucking what? Just so we can keep going around this half-baked moral philosophy that we've already established. Flynn doesn't understand what the fuck he's talking about with this shit. Why are we like this? Is honestly more cyclical than just making it a fucking power scaling series. I'd rather be dealing with that. That could just be kind of fun if you're actually creative with the abilities. Why do we need to do this shit?
Okay, and
So
genuinely,
okay. So here's the thing. I need to go ahead and wrap this up. So we need to just go and make this. Let's make this the last question and end on this. I'll ask you this. All right.
okay.
How is doing this moral philosophy stuff better than just doing power scaling stuff? And I don't just mean just going, oh, it's entertaining, it's entertaining, it's interesting. It's no. I need you to give me an actual, like, obviously you think that. That's why you're in the bargain for this in the first place. I mean, what explicitly are we supposed to get out of this? What are we supposed to be getting from the characters other than just how is it supposed to be beneficial in the story long term? Other than just evoking it.
Okay, well, I wrote down like 5 points. That was like under a section called "Why did Flynn do this?" And I tried to figure out why. I think that's mostly applies, but I'll just run through them. So number one, I think that it makes Sonic face a new challenge that he hasn't before. And we've already been over this, right? So I'm not going to repeat myself. It's not good in and of itself. It's good insofar as it's entertaining or thought provoking or interesting to subjectively, whatever. Okay. So, two, to actually condense Sonic's philosophy, right? Because Sonic's philosophy is clearly something that people are concerned with. Otherwise, people wouldn't be talking about it. People wouldn't be like, "Is Sonic hero? Is he not?" Hold on. Can I just go through my 5 points and then you can have the last word, and I won't say anything. I'm good.
You're too far away from your mic.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me? Can
You're
you hear me?
good.
Okay. So yeah, to condense Sonic's philosophy to make him actually believe something that isn't self-contradictory or muddled over like 30 years of existence to
This
actually
is
give him
contradictory. We've been explaining how it's contradictory.
oh my, can I just say
No. Seriously, the whole reason I was trying to give you the final, I was trying to give you an answer on this is because I'm trying to at least allow you to have some answer. But I need you to not explicitly say something that we've already just explained. That we've already just gone through.
I don't agree.
I've already like the whole reason we're having this conversation. I've already covered this earlier. That this is contradictory. That this does.
I don't agree. How? I don't know. You didn't.
Again, no, I did.
How?
You have 30, no, you have 20 cookies on the table. I tell you, you can have all 20 cookies. But if you have 10 of the cookies on this table, I get to beat the shit out of you. How is that giving someone freedom? How is threatening someone to make saying if you make choice B, I get to beat the shit out of you? How is that offering someone freedom?
Okay, you know what? Sure. And I from my point of view, I would agree that it's not contradictory, but like the way that he interprets it, the way his understanding of freedom is different than mine. I don't think that's contradictory. It's clearly if someone was put in like an infinite pleasure machine,
Mayday.
he would be okay with it.
I get to invoke this because I believe we both are. You're black, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm black. I want you to tell me right now if you're like, I don't like that this is common in black. I don't like this is common in black families. I'm promising myself I'm not going to do this when I have kids. But let's be honest with ourselves. Let's be honest with ourselves. When your parents did threaten you with the belt, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that was them offering you freedom?
No.
Okay. Do you think that is freedom under? No. Do you think that is freedom under any definition? Because the thing you were trying to ask right now is like, well, this is Sonic's point of view. No, it's not. This is Flynn trying to make a case for this shit and doesn't and like I said, doesn't understand what that word means. So when you end up trying to invoke that shit, you can't just give a cop-out answer. Well, this is what Sonic thinks. No, this is what Flynn is trying to argue for, and it doesn't make any fucking sense. Just trying to throw it off on like, well, it's this fictional character is the same problem I've always had with one of the main problems I have with Flynn is that he can't take responsibility for shit. So when you end up having this kind of stuff, you can't just throw responsibility off to just say, well, this is Sonic's thing. No, that is Flynn's argument. This is his responsibility. You don't get just to say, well, this is his case. Just because you get to say it's someone else's doesn't mean that you're not allowed to point out how stupid it is or how it doesn't make any goddamn sense. It's still stupid. It's still contradictory. Just saying that it's someone else's point of view doesn't refute that. Does that make sense?
Okay, it does. But I see, it's like, are you again? Do you just not believe in the idea of like people having different definitions of freedom. The
On something
because
like
like
this, fuck no. On
there's
something
not
like
an
this, fuck
objective
no.
definition of freedom.
Huh?
So when Sonic says I believe in freedom, I think everyone should be free. What Sonic is really
I
saying is
think
that
no,
I think that everyone should be free by my
Please don't do
definition.
the centrist crap. Please don't do the centrist crap. Because it's the exact same thing I see a lot of different political people are trying to go for. It's like, well, don't I have the freedom to piss in the middle of the street? Why are you against my definition of freedom? Because it's fucking stupid. I do not need to see you pissing in the middle of the goddamn street. No, I am all for having certain discussions over certain things, but that does not mean that when I'm having those discussions, I have to treat them like they're not fucking stupid. Because the first thing you should always be willing to do is to say when something is stupid. When something is stupid, be willing to say it's fucking stupid. Don't give it a pass at all. Don't give it a pass just because someone else said it.
Yeah, but okay. I believe in freedom is a statement that I would say.
Do you think
But
people
then if
have
you
the freedom?
ask me
No. Do
if
you
you're
think people
really,
have the freedom to oppress others?
I don't know.
Then what? No, you
See, so
know,
like,
we
is it like,
both
oh,
no,
I'm
we
wrong?
both
What?
know, we
You don't
both
believe that
know
people should
that is
be
something people
free to
argue
have
for.
like
Does that
slaves?
does that
What?
do we both know that is something that people will argue for? Do you think that they have the right to have that? Do you think they don't have the right to be called stupid for having that definition?
You can call them stupid. Yes.
Do you think that it is ultimately a stupid decision? Please do. Come on, man.
To have slaves? Yes.
So why
I
so
believe
why are you
so.
trying to argue right now that well people can have different definitions of free people have different definitions of freedom? Technically, yes, but that doesn't mean that they're all valid or they can't be called stupid.
I agree. But that wasn't what I was saying. That wasn't my point, which I wrote right here.
Okay,
It
what's your point?
condenses Sonic's philosophy. His philosophy, and a part of philosophies are definitions, how you feel about the words you say. And clearly, Sonic has a very different definition of freedom than me. Otherwise,
No,
he
no,
would be.
dude, this is literally what I'm talking about. You can't keep just saying, well, you gotta let me finish. You gotta let me finish and go into it when I literally have been responding to that. That's literally what I've been saying this entire time.
But you're saying it's stupid.
Yes, it
That doesn't
is. It
refute
is
my
stupid.
point.
This is
That doesn't
no.
refute
You
my
can't
point.
say that this isn't contradictory when I literally just explained how it's contradictory, how it doesn't make any sense, and then go, well, it's just his definition. No, it's not
Oh yeah,
Sonic's
right, right.
definition.
You said
It's
it's
what Flynn is
contradictory.
trying to
That's
write
what
in
you
for,
said.
and it's stupid. We would not have this. Like, this is the thing I really don't
Wait,
get
wait,
about
wait.
this
Hold on.
series. We are fully willing to call any other piece of property, it's even in this franchise, bad when it's written poorly. But for some reason, we need to give Flynn a pass. Why? Why do we need to give him a like? I get labeled as a Pender's defender for some reason. I don't know why. I've never defended his work. I'm never really going to. But I'm fully willing to admit when he ends up writing something stupid in his work, I will call it stupid. Like when he wrote, I think, yeah, when he wrote it in a story at some point where Dulcie was dealing with like an abusive boyfriend and we were having a whole weird back and forth story about that. No, I would have said, why are we doing this here? Don't put this in here. Why the fuck do I need to
Because you're
think
saying
about
I have a
functioning
bias
getting into an
towards
abusive relationship with a
Flynn, and I'm
boyfriend?
not
Get rid
willing
of
to
it.
call out like the dumb moral philosophy that he is like promoting or something, right? That's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Okay. Um, I don't think he's promoting this. I think he's just saying that Sonic thinks that way.
That is promoting it. No, 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 no,
I don't think
no,
so.
no. No. Here's the thing. You are right. That is what Flynn says, and he's full of shit when he does that. Because he does this. No, like I was trying to find a way to do this at some point on my other show. I'll do it here. When a while ago that Flynn ended up putting out a video that said like, oh yeah, due to a couple of things getting taken out of context, we can't answer anymore. So I have to run all these questions through Sega now. You know what video probably got him in trouble? It was either one, we ended up talking about who would end up slapping which character would sign slap on the ass, or my personal favorite, when he has a video going like, oh, well, I'll answer your questions. I won't guarantee they'll be right, or I'll answer them though. Those two videos are probably got him in trouble in the first place. That's not fans taking him out of context. That's him putting out something stupid and seconds to call him out for it, but then he ends up throwing responsibility on other people because he can't do that for shit. And he does the exact same thing both with Sonic as a character and how he ends up writing him. There's no fucking reason he has to write Sonic like this. I know that because no other fucking version of Sonic has this problem. He ends up writing him like this because this is how he wants to write the character, and he likes writing the character like this is because this is what he fucking believes. So we don't need to be giving him. So I don't want Sonic or Flynn getting a pass by just going, well, that's their philosophy. Yeah, there are other people's philosophies who think we should be slaves. That does not mean that they should not be called stupid. That does not mean they should get called out for their bullshit. And that does not mean we should be giving them excuses.
Wait, but that's not okay. There, I'm saying when I say that Sonic thinks something, or it's not me saying that it's good that he thinks that, or that I agree with his philosophy. I think I said that like at the beginning that I don't think that people should be put into Matrix pleasure machines. Sonic, he does. Is that self-contradictory? I don't know. No, I don't think so. I think that just means that his definition of freedom.
Is
I guess
really
I'm
fucking
repeating
stupid.
myself.
It should be called fucking stupid. And unless
Sure,
they're actively going to
sure.
take him through a character arc, which should not have taken 75 plus issues to do that, some should do, and that should take 2 issues tops, and even that, and that's 2 more than it really should be, because it shouldn't be in the first fucking place, because no other version of the character has this problem.
Sure.
Why are we giving this a pass? Why are you even trying to
I'm
remotely
not
do
giving it a
it?
pass. I'm saying it condenses. My point was, okay, you said it was contradictory. I don't know if I would call it contradictory. I would say that's definition is different than mine. And I guess I would, if I would have his definition, if I thought it was a good one. So I guess that means I think it's not a good definition of freedom, or it's a kind of a weird definition of freedom.
Dude, why?
So
No,
sure,
no. Why do I keep? No, seriously, I keep giving you the cookie example. You end up agreeing with me that it is contradictory. So why do you keep? That's explicitly meant to be the most basic level of explain why this doesn't make any fucking sense. Why do you keep saying that you don't understand it when I keep explaining to you how that would end up working? How is that not contradictory? Or how did that cookie situation not tie to this?
Is it contradictory? I don't know. I don't like the word contradictory. Or maybe if I was arguing with Sonic, I'd probably say this is contradictory. If I was like having an argument with him, so maybe.
No, if you're
I don't know, but like
if you're willing to say it's contradictory, if you're willing to say it's contradictory with him, if you're arguing with him, why aren't you willing to say it's contradictory now?
I'm saying maybe, or maybe I would say that like, okay, because like Sonic could say, I want everyone to be free, except to like pee in the streets. Then that would be fine. That would be consistent. If he like held that consistently, that would be a fine position to say, I want everyone to be free except for these specific things. And he could elaborate on that. It's like this is him. The words that he's saying are like him trying to represent what is in his mind. But they could be defined as like more broad.
Okay, hold on. Why do you keep? Okay, here's my question: why are we just treating this as bad writing? That's really what my question is. Why do we keep just trying to make it seem like Sonic's this living, breathing character, and we're just supposed to just accept it as is? Why are we not just willing to say that this is just bad writing?
Okay.
Why are we not? Why can't we argue this on the quality of the writing itself? That's my question.
Punisher wants to kill criminals, but he is a criminal. He's a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing like extrajudicial killings.
Mm-hmm.
So that I guess that would be a contradiction, maybe. But like the interesting part of that,
but he does not. Well, okay, I'm going off the TV version of him. While he is fully willing to get out, he does not try to argue like he's some like moral do-good, like he's some moral do-gooder. He's like above going to jail. He is just giving up on himself as this person. He just thinks this is the only way he can actually contribute and make up for the mistakes for what happened to his family. That is not the same thing here.
And there are versions of Punisher that like killed.
And I'm not going to defend every last version of that. But again, just because you can bring up a different version that is a different version of a character where you can kind of say this is similar to this, like I'm not going to say I'm familiar with it, but if it's meant to be the same thing like this, I'm going to say it's stupid. I'm going to say that's stupid too. I'm not going to defend that. So the question here is not, can you find another character who's exactly like this? My question is, how do you defend this as anything other than bad writing?
I'm saying having a contradictory, if I use that word tentatively, contradictory philosophy, having your main character having contradictory philosophy, it's not, I don't know if I can, unless you're not aware of it, maybe.
He's not aware of it. No, he's not. Like, that's the thing. He doesn't treat this as being nonsensical and half-assed. That's the problem. And again, the solution here is not that, oh, I want to see this analyzed and deconstructed. No, the problem is that this is here in the first fucking place when this isn't a thing. When not only this is not a thing anywhere else, it doesn't need to be a thing here. That's where the problem comes in.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, I'm sure. And I'm not saying sure, like, oh, sure, man. I'm just saying, yeah, I mean, that's fine. I'm cool leaving it there. I want to, can I say my other things?
Sure.
I mean, I think you made a fair point. So, okay, okay, my third reason was to give Sonic actual flaws. Because Sonic is, sometimes he's impatient. Sometimes he's like headstrong. But like, I don't know if that's never really been turned back on him in any way.
It
Maybe in
has.
like Sonic Lost World, when he was too quick to run into a fight, and then Tails got thrown in jail. I
Oh,
guess
is
that.
Impulsive? Wait, no, is Impulsive? That's just thrown out against him all the fucking time. I'm pretty sure that's like a thing in every version at some point.
Wait, but like, when has that ever like actually caused a problem for him, or been displayed as like an actual flaw, which means it
And
actually hurts
literally, I'm
people
pretty sure if I
inside?
went through every TV show that's come up as a weakness at least once a series, like that's honestly very one of the very basic weaknesses that he's had in almost every show. That's not new.
Wait, but where? Or I guess I won't. Sure. I mean, I'm
I
not
know that
gonna.
came up in
If you
Underworld.
can't think of
I
one,
know
that's
that
fine.
came
That's
up
fine.
in Sonic Underground at least once because I know that's one of the things that Sony used to get on for all the fucking time. I know that came up in Boom. I know you just brought up Lost.
Yeah.
You just brought up Lost World. I know it's come up in. I know it's come up in Archie. That's the whole thing about one of Sally's main complaints about him. That's not new territory.
Okay.
Like that's the
Sonic
thing.
Lost World.
Like
Wait,
it's
and I'm
not like
talking about
Sonic is
Game
always
Sonic.
portrayed as
I'm
some like
talking
weird
about
perfect
like,
character. He gets character weaknesses and challenges all the fucking time. That's
yeah, but
not new.
that's like Sonic
That's not
Underground
new.
and Sonic, then Sonic Boom. I'm talking about like Game Sonic.
That
If this is
you
Game
literally brought
Sonic,
up you literally brought up Lost World.
okay, then it was good in Lost World, and they should do it again. They should do that more, and that's why it's good because they should, yeah, they should play into that. They should play into Sonic's traits. They're good in some ways and they're bad in some ways and they hurt people in some ways. I think that's cool. I think they should keep doing that. So that's third point. Um, my fourth point is that it gives the new comic a theme to build from. I think that, yeah, that was like this whole like with Metals letting Metal Sonic go, and with Surge and with Mr. Tinker and with Bell and with all that. That was like kind of the base that they were able to build out from to like build their specific themes for this comic. So that was be a reason that you do it. I think that having some sort of foundation that you're working from, some sort of philosophical thing that you want to like look at, and that's like going to be the core of it, at least for maybe the when you're starting off, and then maybe you concern yourself with other things later. I think that's good. That's probably like good practice. You know what I mean? Um, Fifth thing is that it deconstructed a game element and used it as a narrative device. And that's the fact that Eggman always comes back. Sonic seems to be happy enough to fight him every single time, and he doesn't really care that much about it. So I wanted to like analyze this Sonic cycle. It was literally brought up by Starline as like the Sonic cycle. So I wanted to like deconstruct that, which I found interesting. So those are my five reasons why you would do that. Why you would do this moral angle, why you would give Sonic a moral philosophy, and why you would examine it and criticize it, etc. And they're available to
So
your
let me ask you this.
perusal and the
Let
perusal
me ask you
of the
this. Do
audience.
you
Yep.
think, because I've been meaning to get you, because I need to ask you on that. So if you think that it's just good for IDW just have any type of moral philosophy to build off of, and that's what makes it to work off of, and that's works. Do you think it would make sense for there to be a story, for there to be a branch of this franchise where where Sonic's moral philosophy is you should be allowed that kids should be beaten no matter what, just on a daily basis, just because that's the best way to make sure that they can grow up as being functional adults, that they just get beaten all the time.
No, I don't think so.
So Why not? That could be a good moral philosophy to build off of, right? Why is that a bad
I guess
thing?
I would say I don't want it to be just anything. It would have to be something that's not so heinous that it's like teaching the kids that read it like bad lessons, but gray enough to be maybe compelling for someone like me.
How is it? No, how is it gray to say that we need to establish that the character doesn't want to do anything to actually deal with the villains properly? That it's just okay to just do the bare minimum to move the fuck on. How's that gray? That's just stupid.
I mean, people literally, there's a thing called the paradox of tolerance. I didn't learn
No,
about that until I
This
was
isn't the
like
paradox.
14.
This isn't the
Like,
paradox of
people are
tolerance.
clearly concerned
This
themselves
isn't the
with things
paradox
like
of tolerance. Really don't invoke that here. No, that actually works against you at this point. That actually works against you in this.
No, I'm not saying that to defend the series. I'm only saying that people, even these really serious philosopher people, were so concerned with like this idea of this like contradiction that's like, oh, to we want people to be free. We want freedom. We're Americans, or we're like Western society, whatever. We want people to be free. But if people are free to do whatever they want, what they want to do is like heinous or like harmful. So there's this idea of like the paradox of tolerance. It's a paradox. Like, how do you resolve that? And
You kick out
yeah,
Nazis.
it seems like people.
No,
I don't know if you can.
you don't tolerate Nazis. That's literally the whole point of it. Like, this is the reason why I say trying to evoke that doesn't make any sense here. Like, I'm not against the idea of exploring moral dilemmas, but you need to, the bare minimum, establish how this makes sense in any fucking degree in the first place. The problem is this mindset that Sonic has does not make sense even in universe. As much as every character who brings this up doesn't get to do it properly, they, at to a certain degree in piecemeal, ends up explaining how this doesn't make sense. Because of course it fucking doesn't. It doesn't even make sense coming out of Sonic's mouth. The whole reason that, and because again, they're trying so hard to to try to explain why a franchise statement makes sense in universe when it doesn't, and nor does it need to. Like, this is basically trying to do the same thing as going, hey, let's explain why in Pokemon Ash never calls the cops on Team Rocket. Well, that's because, no, we don't need it. There's no good answer for that in universe. They have every reason to. There's no reason why they shouldn't. The only reason they don't do it in story is because of the fucking franchise villains, and we need them around, and they need to stay around for one reason or another. And having Ash call the cops every 5 fucking minutes just for them to break out would get monotonous and pointless. That's why they don't do it. And it's the same thing here. So there's no benefit for doing this other than to pretend that they have the other than to pretend that this is trying to cover something deep when it's not. It's trying to pretend like it's trying to comment on the Sonic cycle, but if anything, it's getting more repetitive and redundant, especially when redundant, and even moronic when Flynn has been called out on this multiple times. So this doesn't make sense, not just by me, but by a bunch of other people. That's the reason. That's half the reason why he doesn't want to why he didn't want to take questions on this in the first place. Because plenty of people were calling out how this doesn't make any fucking sense. But he's either too dense or too stubborn or too willing to be cynical and self-destructive that he doesn't know anything else to cover. That's why this keeps being brought up. Not because it's trying to have an ethical dilemma, but because Flynn doesn't have anything else.
So he doesn't have anything else.
Look, okay, we can let's just go ahead and end it on here because I actually do need to go take care of a couple things before it gets too late. But
no, that's fair. I'm sorry this ended up taking like almost like 2 hours. I don't.
No, it's fine. That I should have been watching myself a little bit better. But thank you so much for showing up here. Can you tell them where they can find you?
Hey, Mayday, at Mayday or at Art Mayday on Twitter, and at Art Mayday on Blue Sky. I haven't posted anything there yet. Hopefully, I get the chance. You guys can see my art. I don't know if the people aren't nearly as feisty on like Blue Sky. It looks like, so I don't really talk about Sonic that much on there. Or it doesn't look like I'm gonna. But on Twitter, you'll probably see me getting into fights every now and then. So go check that out if you're interested. So.
All right, cool. All right, thank you so much, man, for showing up, and I will see you guys all later. All right. All right. See you, everybody.
Bye.
All right, we are out. All right, thank you so much.